and start the audio recording. And I just updated Audacity. See how well that works. And well, I had some other mind to start on things like trucking and stuff like that, and the unmitigated racism that's infecting Ottawa. Yes, I am talking about the Prime Minister. Uh, but I'll digress for a moment. A very important issue, and people should bring this up with their MPs or congressmen, their MLAs, whatever legislator there is out there. I mean, even to some degree, level of constitutional amending to make sure that contracts between individuals are considered supreme law, or a supreme law. And the fact is, I mean, there could not be a more important thing. I mean, two people agree on something in writing, and all you have to do is really enforce that, in most cases. Granted, you might have your situation where, well, you might have your situations where people are forced or coerced or whatever. But you can deal with that in a simple concept, like criminal law, so that you prove beyond reasonable doubt that force and fraud were inflicted upon a person. And that's weird. And run out of ideas, I just go to Epoch or something like that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, and it'd be very important and beyond ideal that we bring this up to our congressional or legislative assemblies and whatever, to make sure. I mean, granted, the corporations are collectives, unions are collectives, and stuff like that. Those things are a whole different story, and you have to deal with those things differently. But individuals, if I and this other fellow agree on terms for whatever sort of relationship, it could be anything from business to sexual, or maybe long-term cohabitations, or whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to keep it as clinical as possible. But yeah, I mean, they did discuss these things back in the day of gay marriage issues and stuff like that, and I think they kind of lost the plot a bit when they straggled away from the idea of not necessarily a civil union, but well, think of it, a marriage really is a religious right factor, because here's the thing, you cannot be compelled to testify against your wife. The reason for that is under certain religious pretenses. I think mostly Christianity and Sikhism follow this as a two flesh become one. And in that sort of thing, you have to have, in that sort of scenario, you can't testify against yourself, and therefore the wife testifying is testifying against you and herself as well. And that's the whole issue about compelling a spouse. So that is more about a religious right, or religious freedom, than it is about anything else. So and that's the only real necessity regarding marriage, and that's only if it's like something you actually did as a religious thing. I mean, I would suggest any non-religious association, unless specifically issued in a contract, should not a person could be compelled to testify as a spouse because it is not their religious belief, not that they are one flesh. See, if it is their religious belief that they are one flesh, then they cannot testify against themselves. If that's understandable. And to me, I never thought that the government should be involved in the ceremonies of marriage or anything like that. It was strictly a religious thing. The rest should be contracts. And this is where this thing comes in too, especially. So everything from, minor business contracts, limited shares in a business, like silent bit partners and stuff like that. Those would be contractual agreements between individuals. This individual with this individual, one at a time, and that sort of thing. Like communes, too. Communes are also contracts between individuals. You will join a commune, and you make a contract with this individual who lives there, and that one, and that one, and that one, that one. Maybe they do it collectively. But it could be much more simpler if everyone would probably get more of what they want out of each other if they all agreed to sign individual agreements and as well with each other, rather than some sort of centralized factor. But here, that's the crux of it. But at least with the fact individual, like they laugh about affirmative consent forms with regard to sex and stuff like that. Ruins the spontaneity and stuff like that. There probably isn't spontaneity if you're just going into some standard debauchery. So I don't see what's wrong with having affirmative consent. I don't think it's probably a good cover for yourself in case of a Me Too. I know the probably go power dynamic, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's also an agreement between two people, a contract. Some places are very terrible at enforcing contracts. Some people are. I mean, they say that you can't... the people will argue certain things between individuals can't be enforced, and I say... there are a lot of weird things that you might see in a contract between two people, but it doesn't make it less valid. I mean, two adults or someone who fits a sex consent age and you may find it weird, I might find it weird, but they still agreed upon it. I mean, maybe someone will say, well, I didn't read it. Well, they should have read it before they put their own ink stamp on it. And I'm not saying check marks on a you agree to these terms thing. Because I don't believe clicking a little box is equivalent to actually physically signing something person to person. That's a corporate thing. That's person to corporate. That's a whole other issue. So, I mean, you couldn't do it person to person on an internet form, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it has to be a legitimate contract agreement. So, so I mean, some people, may want to agree to being beaten up on a sling or something, and you may find it weird, but they don't. And they have a right to have a contract. They have a right to have it enforced if said contract happens. Like the Cartman and Leprechaun Balls thing. But, I mean, it becomes an unfortunate world when, these people watching the cell phone when I'll do it for the clock, really. Actually, I got my switch on, so I should 5:04 Pacific time. This is Black Jester Matters, and we're discussing contracts. My name's Golok Budai. I'm the Black Jester. And I started this a little late. Alright. But yeah, it's, I think one of the most sacrosanct things in a civil society, or a civilization, should be a contract, an agreement between two people. And I think, where I guess in the case of your belief in the two flesh, one person dynamic, or loss of phrase, or combined soul thing, the couples too do, I guess, count as an individual in that scenario too, if they decide to do it that way. But that's about as much as it goes. Now there are some exceptions too on what you can trade and stuff like that, and that's always the case, but I mean that's usually limited to non-consenting children, or non-consenting period, and a contract usually suggests a consent. Now, contracts can only be signed between people who are adults or at least at sex consent age in this scenario. Don't blame me if some freak state in, like, I think Alabama has a sex consent at ages 12 or something. Maybe that was in the 90s and they changed it. But there's some weird places, but you got to have those rules changed if you want to change. I mean, God. I mean, think about these things. I mean, whenever there's a rape happening, they talk about we need more crime and punishment. You know, you're not even looking at sentencing. I mean, the guy who also got out of jail, and got shot by Rittenhouse. I mean, if the sentencing was the way I would have had it, he would have been in jail and still alive. And the guy who plays with the Hulk can go and have a conjugal visit with JoJo. I'm sure they would have had a great time. But fuck that, no. Pedos don't get conjugal visits. They shouldn't anyway. It's a fucking Richard Speck freak show type shit there. But yeah, people don't consider sentencing. They consider the idea of having more laws. They don't consider making sentencing harder, making sentencing easier, possibly getting rid of certain laws that fill up prisons that are only self-harm. And shouldn't be governing self-harm. I mean, maybe you say hospitals could deny treatment to people who harm themselves. That would be an argument, but that's a whole other story. I mean, definitely, if you're not going to criminalize self-harm, you probably shouldn't have medical treatment for people who harm themselves. It's just and that doesn't mean not getting a vaccine, because a vaccine is extra protection. That's all, as far as I'm concerned. And yes, I am not a doctor, but I do read. I know Tim Pool once. I find it funny, actually. Some people say they're not a doctor, and then they sell supplements claiming it helps your... No, I would say they're not, but I'm saying that if you're going to say you're not a doctor before talking about vaccines, you should also say it before you advertise a supplement. I think, before you claim your knees have never been better since you've taken this supplement type deal. What is it, BioTrust or whatever? Usually, And YouTube they'll also allow a lot of medical misinformation if you buy an ad for it. Like all these infomercial things and stuff like that, like homeopathic bullshitters and stuff like that. I mean, it's fine. Some people may believe that shit works, but still, I mean, I don't see why that's worse than. I don't see why that's better than the anti-vax stuff. After all, I mean, some of the same people are doing the same, or you know, selling the same shit, right? It's kind of weird. So, shit. I don't know. For the record, I do take I got a bad knee, and it hasn't exactly cured my bad knee. But I was hoping the collagen in supplements. I don't take BioTrust, but I take something. I don't know what the brand is. I'm not paid to know what the brand is. But it's but I still take a collagen thing because it doesn't do any harm. So, like, what the hell? As far as I know, it doesn't do any harm. They're also not protected like the vaccine is from lawsuits and stuff if something goes wrong. So they at least have some reason to want to not sterilize you. Not saying anything sterilizes you, of course. No. Just if it does, you can sue the creator of a supplement, but not a coerced procedure. I think I trailed off somewhere. Oh. But that's an interesting point of contracts, too. I mean, probably would be easier to sell this sort of thing if you could have an individual contract with someone giving you a vaccine, saying that they're totally liable if something bad goes on. And that would be a good thing to do anyway if you were applying to get one, is say, make them sign something saying that they're completely liable if any bad side effects occur afterwards. So see how much the person believes it. It's always good to test one's faith. Rosehip tea. Pardon me if I'm starting to drink with some faggy drink instead of Fireball or something. But that's the way. I am live on Orbis, by the way. Orbis.net. It's a really good platform. It's working on a few fixes here and there. It's got a lot of potential, especially as a Facebook replacement. And it's run by ardent free speechers. I mean, we're talking about. The guy ran a update just to chastise people for flagging anti-Trump stuff. It's like, great. I mean, this guy doesn't necessarily like the anti-Trump stuff, but he damn well will defend it. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that he actually had a fucking update video live just to chastise people for flagging that stuff. That's just primo free speeching shit. That's cool. That's why I invest in it. So yeah, contracts are very important between two people, two individuals, trying to have a personal thing or a business thing or whatever. Like, you will not shout "me too" when we engage in this sort of thing, or whatever, you know. And it's a good way to even secure your privacy. It's a good way to secure a lot of your rights in many ways on a private level, because You got a sort of an added protection there. It becomes your own sort of little constitution with whatever you're doing. Signed by you and another person. Maybe, I don't think it's necessarily important to have a witness. I mean, you can probably have a video of the signing or something like that. That'd be enough. That's, there are a lot of ways to do that sort of thing. But, yeah, it's cool. I mean, you can even have it with certain entities that, like, reporting on your story or something like that. They want to talk to you. You sign a. They both sign a pledge saying full honesty and no dirty cutting and stuff like that. No out of context statements. If that happens, you can go at them in full force. If anyone if anyone on any side breaks the rules, you can go out in full force and so on. So anyway, I'll move on. We got the whole trucker thing, and Trudeau's hiding out there. Apparently, he's been at risk of catching COVID. Isn't that something, huh? Trudeau is so courageous. He thinks he took that shot, and he thinks it protects him from everything. It protects his kids, but he's been in contact with some people, so he should just hide away, because I guess to keep the kids safe. What a bullshitter. I mean, if anything, okay, if you're going to hide from the truckers, just say you're going to hide from the truckers, but why would you use your cover as an inoculation to your own speech about vaccines? You're basically telling everyone the vaccine didn't work on me. It's like, if your cover from addressing this whole thing is the vaccine doesn't work, then you might as well shut down the mandates. Shut down the mandates. I mean, there's no reason to even entertain that sort of shit. It's just, it never gets, I'm at a loss at actually writing Huffing Glue post updates because satire is becoming very difficult because it's just too easy to laugh at the literal event like it's a joke. By the way, sorryyouFeelThatWay.com with a U does have an updated event, does have an updated, you also go to blackjester.com, there's a recent post there too. But you can, it's on the locals thing, but no one's on there. I just have it. I post updates there too, anyway, but yeah, I get this funny feeling in my head. I got good hearing, so I think I hear the power lines or something. I don't know. Very high-pitched squeal. I think it's tinnitus, but maybe it's my good hearing the power surges or something. And my hearing's got some annoying side effects to it. I can imagine being Superman would be absolutely irritating. I would not want that super hearing. Oh, I know this is a human equivalent of it. But anyway, right now it's super fabulous hearing. Right, I forgot it's super fabulous hearing. Because I'm bisexual and I mock the new Superman, John. Why the hell would a guy named Kal-El, John? Why name him John? Like they couldn't do everything else. I mean, it's kind of just typical. I mean, like someone's so boring, they have to lean on their sexuality endlessly just to pretend they're interesting. By the way, the image I got there of the Grim Reaper on the money, the death of the monetary policy thing, that's on shirts on itemshop.org. I guess I could go to that website and scroll on it, but how do I make that image go? I don't know how to flop them on top of each other. Got some of the images and how they look on some of the proper items too. Some of you are pretty irritated because you're on listening right now, but you got my nice voice. Almost recent update there on this is the Branch Covidian shirt. Better Covidiot than a Branch Covidian shirt. And you scroll down, you'll see some of the more recent updates. Some of them I'm wearing, including that one, which is a interesting thing. So, joking about monetary policy, basically, and what they're doing to the dollar. It's actually more relevant now than when I actually drew it. It's, I guess a Grim Reaper on the dollar is Joe Biden. Trudeau, it's probably printing money like shit too. No, tomorrow too. Well, I suspect they're all doing it, so it's probably going to balance off in the end. I guess nearly every country, maybe Sweden isn't, I don't know. Their dollar is going to go up, or kroner or whatever. I'm not sure what Swedish money is. You can be away of the world. You can be a man of the world and still know nothing. So I'm just saying that some people have traveled. But yeah. So where was I? Trudeau's. I mean, I think it'd be an insult to cucks to call Trudeau a cuck. I mean, he's like a total pegger. He's a totally pegged dude. How's that? Call him a pegger. A peggy. That's it. Call him a peggy. Of course, I kind of think that maybe a lot of Canadians don't tend to feel being screwed by the government because our politicians are totally dickless. That just might be a theory. It might be a theory. Generally, they're pretty dickless. So, I always think it's apathy, but maybe they just basically going, is it in yet? I got a meeting later. So, yeah. So, how's my camera now? I mean, the light kind of, it's a bit different the way it takes on the light, isn't it? I got a daylight lamp thing. One of those I think the other one took in more light than this one did. That's a better one. It's Logitech. I could probably run a setting or something that changes its saturation, maybe. But it looks alright, I guess. I don't know about the background. Just a bunch of shit. The skateboard is too small from... Well, I don't know if it's too small for my feet. I like the classic boards. I get that one. The design on the bottom's kind of nice, but I like the classic boards. I remember you kind of had the sort of whale tail thing on the back and the big brake. And in my day, they're made of a thin, light wood now. My day, I was like 9. I was going through this thick wooden board. It's like the pros even did that too. It wasn't not unusual. Back in the Lance Mountain era. That's a cool. That was the last cool name I think in skating. Was Lance Mountain. I mean, I guess, but once you put mountain at the back there, it's just. I mean, Lance alone is kind of. But mountain, it's just awesome. But anyway, hope everything is recording just perfectly. Anyway, yeah. So Trudeau is getting back at everybody because he has to be pegged 24/7, or whenever he's got his spare time. He can't be a man and stand up to anybody on a personal level, unless he's using his power to dominate people. His meager political power. He has a problem with math too, a blow-dried idiot. He seems to. By the way, if it's about hair, I've got the best. Women wish they had my hair. Anyway, so Trudeau doesn't even have that going for him. He's just got a good blow dryer. But yeah, he's just he's a petty little freak that wants to use his power on people and control them because he can't control himself. It's not, and maybe he's a little pissed off that he got groomed for politics when he probably wanted to be a funny man. Maybe he wanted to be a comedian, did racy jokes, and stuff even I can't even foresee doing. Blackface, for instance. But not that I judge someone for doing it, especially if it's meant to be funny. But that's, I mean, he chose to take that groomed line, and he could have just said, "Fuck this, I'll be a stand-up comic" or something like that. No one's forced him. He just had a little pressure on him. Maybe he just like went out with it and just said that. Listen, I never wanted this. I got groomed into it, and I got expectations, and I let things go too far. You know, owned it. But he doesn't. He decides to be a bitch about shit. So, but yeah, I hope to God I'll have something to eat next month or next week. Those trucks over there. I'm only to starve if it's necessary, but it's a stressful thought. He'll probably have things shipped into him by helicopter and stuff like that, so he'll be okay. It would kick the dirt in everyone else's face. It'd be cool if they could block off the other methods that you can get food and supplies to the Capitol building. That would be a really effective way to do things. Not that I'm suggesting they should, I'm just saying it'd be a clever tactic. Something I would think of and did. But, yeah, there's his mathematics is really bad. I mean, he thinks that he won a majority government in seats. He didn't even win a majority of votes. And he goes on half-cocked like somehow he has a mandate. Granted, both him and the Liberal Party do constitute one-party vote, and I guess the NDP as well, and the Greens. So there's just one party in there, but they all got, they all got elected on slightly different panders. Well, so differently focused panders, maybe. What a crime that early election was. Both of them. Early elections are crimes. We should have a fixed date, and that's that. Very nice that the provinces had control over when the election got called federally for the seat holders in the province. So that way you can at least alternate the provincial, federal, and local elections all at different years, so there's no conflict brewing. Not a lot of terrible conflict. Okay, that's we need something like we need a point-based preferential balloting system. And what I mean is like first you pick first to sixth place, and first place gets 10 points, second place gets 8 points, third gets 6, fourth gets 4, fifth gets 2, and sixth gets 1. Yeah, there's two rather close together in one, but it can't be a pure thing. But hell, maybe 6 can get 0. But either way, it's got to be like that. Because I find it slightly dubious that they can just, the other system without a point, suggests that they say, well, if your first choice doesn't win, your vote goes to the second choice. And no, I don't trust them to make that maneuver. It's much better to go with a consistency point scoring system, like old Formula One. You know, when you heard those engines and it just sounded just so nice. I was hearing some of those old engines and stuff like that from the 80s and even the 90s. That's, with all these computers, Formula One just doesn't sound the same. Yeah, so I support the truckers, and that's great. Senator Durbin says Republicans will meet Biden's Supreme Court pick and get to know them. Kind of strange to the plural on pick. Yeah, get to know them. I'm guessing they're going to be getting put over the barrel or something, and all the CIA blackmail papers will come out, and they'll be told they're going to vote for this person, or else this comes out, that comes out, that comes out. That usual business. Dick Durbin. How is he still around? Yeah, asshole, that guy is. Scum sucker. It's around during the Clinton administration, shit like that. I'm guessing they need a new truckers association, since the truckers and the trucker association don't seem to be eye to eye on this stuff. We're in this for the long haul. Trucker convoy to Ottawa, and trucker convoy to stay in Ottawa until mandates lifted. Organizers say. Yeah, they probably should have sent some to other provincial capitals too, though. I have a problem with some of this nationalized shit, because I mean, the problem's also in Victoria. It's everywhere. It's in every province. It's in Edmonton. It's in all these capitals, and they did have a truck march, and they did have one in Vancouver on the first day, but it was in Vancouver, from Langley to Vancouver. But it would have made much more sense if they crossed the moat and gone to Victoria, and surrounded Victoria, and other provinces too. Because a lot of the problems are not federal, they're mandates that are in provincial hands too. Right now, Bonnie Henry's just kicking her feet up, going, "Ha, it's their problem." You know, it's like it's some evil shit. It's not too well thought out when I think. I mean, all mandates. Prime Minister, he could probably stop the blackmail with the with he uses the transfer payments as blackmail against provincial governments, no doubt, to get them to play ball with this stuff. But let's face it, we need this stuff to actually. Alberta convoy blocks Canada-U.S. border in support of protests in Ottawa. That's good. But they do need it on the capitals there, too. That's good. But we don't have it in BC, though, do we? But, I mean, this stuff has to happen at every type of capital, provincial capitals and stuff like that, not just Ottawa, because that's only one part of the problem. Maybe we can get them to admit it's not scientific at all. It's all political and all about power. I doubt it, but yeah. So the well-known homophobe, Neil Young, an AIDS expert, has lost the Joe Rogan thing. Now, whatever you think about homosexuals and their being the cause of AIDS, I mean, the guy literally thought he'd get AIDS from a potato. Because a gay fruit, some fruit touched it. So, I mean, that's a whole other level of stupid. I've seen some stupid homophobic statements, but Neil Young just mastered that. It's not gay. It's not straight. It's versatiles. You know, the ones who get anal and then do anal, they switch. That's where you get the problem. It's like subs and doms. They at least know, the place. One person pounds us, one person takes it. That's no way in hell I'd take it. I know, bitch. But it's fine if you're a bitch. I mean, people who aren't bitches need bitches. That's the way it is, right? I mean, and I'm only saying stuff like this. People need bitches. Because, maybe we'll need another guy to yell, "Go Frosk." The guy says, the guy may as well yell, "Gargle for me, Frosk." The guy at G4 was like playing that Louis Farrakhan backup singer role on G4 was caught talking about how he tells the woman to swallow. He doesn't just ask them, and which is fine. That's a dominant thing. That's cool. But that's your thing. That's her thing. I'm sure you never see them again. Hopefully you got a signed agreement. And hopefully it'd be enforced. But if you're going to go play the male feminist later, I'm going to suspect that was probably not consensual. I mean, I'm going to suggest that's hypocritical of you. It wasn't even 10 years ago, it was like 6 months ago, for God's sake. But I'll digress from that point. Anyway, it's a upsetting thing. It's upsetting that people just can't keep their character straight or their story straight or anything straight. I mean, not speaking non-sexually, of course. But I would have found in fact, I would have kind of appreciated the fact that that Neil Young used the word faggot. Only if he wasn't trying to cancel someone for speech. I mean, really, live by the cancellation. You should probably die by the cancellation at this point, shouldn't you? I mean, why did he get a pass on homophobia? I might get a pass. I don't know. I always get a pass on these things, but I don't know why. But probably because I am fair and I don't try to censor anybody. But I mean, if you're going to go try and censor somebody, you should probably be screwed by all your everything you said in the past. Like the other people who do and aren't, but there are people who don't advocate censorship and they get screwed on saying words that are hurtful. And because Neil Young goes after Rogan, he gets a pass. Apparently, noted, and I'm raised by hippies, so I will have the authority to say the noted sellout, what the hell is her name? Well, some sellout bimbo from the same era, when Young was with the Crosby, Stills, and Nash and that other guy. What was the bimbos? I can't remember her name now. She's in this thing. Not Joan Baez, another one. Joan Baez got it, but from National Lampoon pretty well anyway. I think it was that chick who used to drown herself in Southern Comfort on stage, and she decided to join the fight with him, and she was well known sellout back in the hippie days, so that's that. Well, I do respect the drinking of Southern Comfort. Southern Comfort, Wild Turkey, Fireball, Kraken. That's just great shit. And, well, I think I'll just cut it off at this point. Don't want it to go too long. And I wish everyone a good night, morning, evening, and so on. Don't drink and drive. Drink first, then drive, and eat both hands on the wheel. Alright, thank you very much. Stop streaming. Stop recording.